Southern Heritage Classic Weekend is coming September 7th through the 9th, and we have the man himself, the founder, Mr. Fred Jones is in the building for Sit Down with Sain. Mr. Jones, how you doing today, sir?
Good. I'm doing very well. Thank you.
Man, good to have you here for sure. I was joking about that we don't have many legends in the building. I definitely will consider you one. This is year 34 of the Classic coming up in a few weeks. Tell us what made you decide to bring the Classic here to Memphis 34 years ago.
I've been in the entertainment business long before I started the Classic, traveling all over the country doing events, and I would see events like this in other places, and I felt like we should do the same thing in Memphis. So
right.
It was a challenge for me to try and take what I had learned or had seen in other places and do it in Memphis, and that was the kind of the push to do it, but it was really to show that I really could do something else other than concerts and what have you, although entertainment was a part of what we were trying to do.
But when you stepped into doing it, I'm sure you had a lot of fear, a lot of naysayers, people telling you, it's not going to work, all those type of things. What was your biggest fear, or even like your biggest setback when you first got started?
Well, it wasn't the fear of it at all. It was the fact of trying to get people to buy into it. There were so many people, prominent people in the community that said, this can be successful, and certainly can be successful in Memphis. And I didn't take them to heart. After having seen similar events or other types of events around the country, why not Memphis? That was the initial pushback. People didn't really believe that it could happen in Memphis.
Yeah, I'm sure you dealt with a lot of naysayers, like I said, as far as it's concerned. For most of my life, Mr. Jones, it's been TSU versus JSU. It's been, far back as I can remember, it's been TSU versus JSU. The agreement ended when Coach Deion Sanders was there, of course. What are your thoughts on having to head in a new direction now with University of Arkansas Pine Bluff sliding in against Jackson State? Against Tennessee State, I'm sorry.
Well, it's really not a new direction. It's still two HBCU schools. They happen to be from the same conference, the Southwest Athletic Conference, which is called the SWAC. But we've done this before, although it's been a long time. 1991, we had Mississippi Valley State, and then in 1993, we had the legend Eddie Robinson with Grambling. So it had been done before, but there's obviously a big span in between the last time we did it and what we're doing now. But it's a similar, everything is basically the same, not basically, it is the same. The only difference is that we have a different team playing Tennessee State. But, the pageantry, the camaraderie, the culture, everything about an HBCU Classic still remains the same. So I think people will see readily that part of it is still the same. It's just the marquee change from Jackson State, Tennessee State to UAPB versus TSU.
Do you see, in a perfect world, is there any chance you could see any possible renegotiations or y'all coming back to the table again and getting it back to TSU, JSU, or is that something you just, you're fine?
Well, it's two parts to that. One is that I'm totally concentrating on this year. That's been our model every year, not to look. You plan for the future, but you have to stay in the moment and do all the things you need to do in that year, and that's what we're doing this year. I have not had any conversation with anybody at Jackson State about the future. So if there was going to be some conversation, there would be something later, but certainly not now.
Everyone knows about the football game on Saturday, but the Classic is also known for the total experience, the entire weekend. So much going on. You guys have the college fair, the coaches luncheon. Penny Hardaway has a golf classic going on. The parade through Orange Mound, the fashions and brunch event. All those things are just things that are all part of this whole weekend, plus other events. How important are those things to the Classic experience?
that was part of the idea, you know, to bring not only entertainment into it, but to bring the community into it. Each one of those events has a community component. Parade in Orange Mound, high school ballad of bands in Whitehaven, the fashion show with the Coalition of 100 Black Women.
Right.
You know, it's about the community, and that's what we always have done. So, as I said earlier, you know, those things, none of those things have changed. In fact, the Coalition of 100 Black Women and their fashion show started in the second year of the Classic in 1991. So we've had stabilizing events pushed and promoted by community organizations. And that's what we've done, and that's what we continue to do. And as long as there's a Classic, you always have that part of it.
You were talking earlier about your past and entertainment, things like that. Thursday night is the big concert. Gladys Knight is going to be performing. I'm sure there's going to be an amazing event. What's one of your most memorable? Who is one of your most memorable performers that you've had on those nights?
You know, strange as it might seem, is the concerts and the game. I very rarely see them.
Okay, I get it though. Yeah,
unless I'm seeing them on tape. I can't remember what show. I probably just go way back. Ruth Brown, the legend Ruth Brown. We were doing a tour with her on a tour called Seams Jens Presents A Taste of the Blues. B.B. King, Bobby Bland, Albert King, Charlie Musselwhite, just to name a few. And she was the host. And man, she had an amazing recall. I mean, this was her coming back from all of those years she had been down, and then she comes back and she did the tour, and then she performed one year at the Classic. And she personified what that era was about. It was about the show and the presentation. She would walk around on a cane and, baby, I just can't make it, and this, that. Ladies and gentlemen, Ruth Brown. Cane go up in the air, and boy, off on the stage she would go. You know, it's like, who was that person I was talking to earlier?
Right.
You know? But that was, again, being able to see legends like that, although it was at the latter part of her career and her life, but she showed what being in the entertainment business and show business was about.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good for sure. Another big event, you talked about the high school battle of bands. The battle of bands at the halftime show is always incredible. The tailgating is always incredible. I was telling my friend, my producer, Kenny Stubblefield, he's a non-melanated brother. So a lot of these things he's never really experienced before. And I was telling him about the whole experience of the Southern Heritage Classic, man. Like I said, the halftime show is incredible. The tailgating is like no other tailgating experience you've probably ever been to. What are your thoughts on those things? Like how they add to the culture of the event?
You know, it's like, for instance, the tailgate. When we first talked about incorporating the tailgate into the Classic, we had about maybe 500 people out there, maybe.
Yeah. It's a lot more than 500 now.
Oh, yeah. But it was like, I'm not going out there. It's too hot. It's too this, too that, and the other. And, you know, and they were a little slow coming to the party. But it just, over time, it took on a life of its own. And that's what has happened, not only with tailgating, it happened with the parade, it happened with the fashion show. All of these events that have been around a while, they took a life of their own, and that's what makes them so strong and popular and significant, because people take ownership of those events like they take ownership of the Southern Heritage Classic.
Yeah.
So it's an intricate part of it, And those are the things that, it's like driving the car. I mean, you know, you have the car and it can be whatever it is, Mercedes or BMW or whatever you want to call it. But the parts have to work. The engine got to work, and every part of that makes the car go. Well, those events, those community participation, what really makes the classic go. It's although people make a lot about me, I understand that, but in the reality, it's the fans, their participation in what make the classic what it is today.
All right, Mr. Jones, I'm gonna be honest with you on this next question. I kind of feel away. I kind of feel jealous because I went to the University of Memphis for 1 year. So every year around this time of year, I feel away because I don't feel like I'm really part of the experience because I feel jealous, so to speak, Mr. Jones. You know what I mean? I see all the camaraderie, I see all the black college stuff and all that. I be wanting to be a part of, you know what I'm saying? So, but I do thank you for bringing it to Memphis because I do feel like if just for them 24 hours that I'm part of the black college experience, Mr. Jones. So I want to thank you for that for sure. But I do have a question I've been wanting to ask you all day long. And I'm excited to ask you this because it's a hot button issue here in the city of Memphis. You've got the funding thing with the buildings, is what everybody's kind of talking about. You got the Grizzlies pulling for their money, University of Memphis pulling for their money. And I've been sitting in the corner like, I wonder what does Fred Jones say about the money? Because I'm like, y'all ain't believe I got Fred Jones out there. Because I'm like, I know that the Classic is a big deal. I know the amount of money that comes here. I mean, it's public information. There's a lot of money that gets spent in the city of Memphis because of your awesome event that you have. So I'm like, all right, y'all need to ask Fred Jones what he think about this whole funding thing. So I feel pride on today. I was just talking about the lack of pride that I feel because I'm not part of the black college experience. But now I get to ask you the actual $1 million question. How do you feel about the funding situation, especially since you use the Liberty Bowl every year?
Well, you're probably not gonna like this answer.
All right. I've been wanting to ask this question for a week, man.
You know,
but go ahead.
I came up in another era. I say that I've been a blessing that I came along when I did, when I was born, and transition, you know, from segregation to integration and all that. So you got a chance to live all that. But one thing in the family structure, especially the black family structure, you did not talk when grown people were talking. It was an absolute no-no. We got grown people talking now.
Yeah.
You know, the city, the state, the Grizzlies. By the way, I was one of the original local owners. There was a
yes, sir.
part of the Grizzlies. University of Memphis. These are grown people.
Yeah.
So when grown people talking, I just
staying out the way.
Stay in my place.
Yes, sir.
That was, you know, again, that's what we were taught, and I don't want to feel that I'm being evasive or anything, but they got to, you know, they're going to figure it out. I mean, you know, there's a lot of money, and there's a big need for the money. The stadium needs an overhaul. The FedEx Forum needs an overhaul. They got to decide if they're going to build a soccer stadium. All of those things, you know. But one thing we can't do is that we got to be very particular and specific about what we're going to do, because having this amount of money available to us again in the future would be a little tough. So they'll figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, and the Classic is a big deal, and I think not only do we need the stadium, we need the whole city. I mean, this is not just what happens at that, you know, right across the railroad track on Park Avenue is one of the biggest events in this town.
Yeah.
Really don't have anything to do with the stadium.
Yeah.
You know. So, again, don't want to be evasive, but they'll figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, I'll stand to the side. They've asked, but they have some ideas, and I just okay. Well, when y'all figure it out, let me know.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to look at it because you've been doing it for 34 years. No matter how it's been, you've been doing it. So I'm sure you'll find a way to keep rolling.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of stories.
Yeah.
Like I said, got a story for everything.
Mm-hmm.
But, that's the beauty, again, of the foundation of the classic. We don't try to get off and have the focus away from what we're trying to do. This is an HBCU experience. It's a big time event. It's got to be much bigger than any of us ever probably dreamed of in the beginning. And we want to keep that focus. So they'll figure it out, and whatever they do, they're going to include Memphis. They're not. The classic. Whatever's done at the stadium will involve the classic. Right. And then we'll make whatever adjustments that we have to make going forward.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see how it turns out for sure. Final question for you, Mr. Jones. In the 34 years of the classic, what has been your biggest achievement? What are you the most proud of looking at year 34?
It's probably the simple version of that is smile on people's faces and what it means to people. We talk about the economic impact. We talk about how much money the schools have made. We talk about the players that have played in the classic going on to play in the NFL. Right. All of that is in it. But when you talk about just the average person they plan for the year. They have meetings to say, this is what we're going to do for the classic, and this is your role, that's your role, and they plan it out. And then when it all comes together and everybody's smiling and having a good time, it's very difficult to go to the game or to the tailgate or to the parade or to the fashion show or the concerts or anything else where people are not smiling. That's the beauty of it for me, and it makes us really want to work hard and to keep them smiling and enjoying themselves. I remember this one story. It was after the game, people came to me and said, well, look, our father is, having a tough time walking, and can you, help get somebody to help him, as we get to his car. It's a long walk. By that time, when they finished talking, he comes out. Struggling to walk and all that. And he said, man, I had to come. He was talking to me then. He said, I had to come. He said, this is something that I wouldn't want to miss. Yeah. To be here with my family, and maybe I don't make it next year. Yeah. But I had to come this year. So, with that kind of passion and that kind of dedication, you understand what this is about. Right. So we can't get off into any sidebars about whatever else is going on. We just need to put our best foot forward where people can enjoy themselves. And, just for this gentleman and his family, this was a big deal. And we want to be able to continue to be a big deal, and that's why we work as hard as we do to try to have a great presentation.
Well, Mr. Jones, you've definitely been bringing smiles, joy to the city for 34 years now. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming on today, Mr. Jones. Thank you for what you're doing with the classic, man. We really appreciate it.
It's you're a native Memphian, and you want to do the best that you can. I mean, like I said, I've done shows and events all over the country, but to create one and have one in your hometown, and to have the kind of success, the impact that it has, that's a whole nother world. You know, that's a whole nother feeling. It don't have anything to do with dollars and cents. It's just the fact that you want to be able to have something in your hometown. And it's kind of the spirit in which we all banded together to get the Grizzlies here.
Yeah.
It was something about our hometown, and I was glad that the Classic was able to play a part in that pursuit.
Yeah.
And we're still here, and it still has an impact, and I'm proud of that.
Yeah, we're all proud. It's just a proudful weekend. It's an extremely proudful experience. So thank you again, Mr. Jones, for coming on. Again, there was Fred Jones from the Southern Heritage Classic. Y'all know what it is, September 7th through the 9th. Go to the game, go to everything. Go to the website, check out everything that's going on that weekend. It's going to be a great experience. Make sure you guys check it out.